Hello friends, welcome. I'm glad you're here with me today. So quite a while ago I had purchased the BetterPress, but I really hadn't taken too much time to really get to know it or play with it. So the other day I pulled it out and really put it through its paces and had some fun with it. So I wanted to share that with you. So let's go ahead and switch our camera and take a look at it. Okay, so here are the pieces that we're going to use today, and they are the Spellbinders Autumn Leaves and the Pink Fresh Studios Here For You Sentiments. And I love this because it comes with the stamps and the dies. So we're going to be using the BetterPress, and here we go. This is one of my favorites. I chose this one to start with because you get the press plates, but then you also get the dies, and that just makes life a little easier. You know, I thought this way I can do some more things with it and play with it. I like it that it comes together. And then here with the Pink Fresh, you have all these greetings and the matching dies, which we're not going to be using too much of this today. I did a lot of it in advance. We will use a couple, but for the most part, we'll use these that I have done in advance and gone ahead and die cut. And that's how those look. And I have pressed those in the black ink today. All right, so for my other inks, we'll be using, let's see here, the black, the saffron, the mulberry, and the bark. And I specifically wanted to use the mulberry. That was kind of my underlying color palette for today. And I just wanted to make some elegant BetterPress cards and kind of see how I could do. I did pull in some basil paper to match the mulberry, and it is called Mardi Gras. So this is just something I had in my stash, and if you wanted to craft along, of course, you could use any color that you have that you think would go with autumn leaves. I also pulled in some vellum, a couple different colors. I have one that's tinted a little bit pink, and then later on I have one tinted a little green. All right, so we're going to start here with the leaves, and we're going to go ahead and press some. And I am using all Spellbinder products today, other than my Pink Fresh there and the paper. But like, I'm using the Spellbinders ink, and I'm using the Spellbinder press plate here, and I'll be using a Big Shot as my die cut. And then I'm also using the BetterPress cotton paper, and this is the bisque color. So when I first am trying out a new technique, I like to just begin with the things that the company tells me is going to work. I think give myself the best shot at having a successful go at it. And I'm going to be placing my leaves here inside this A2 frame because I'm going to be pressing here on this A2 size card panel. So I'm just going to arrange these to look, you know, just a little random. Kind of place them around. It's like you want them to look random, but not purposefully random. So I do a little bit of fiddling here, but I eventually decide how I want them, and I'm going to grab me a sentiment we'll put right here. So I'm not quite ready to commit to Christmas. I still, until Thanksgiving gets here, I like to focus on fall. So once Thanksgiving comes, I will switch gears and go full Christmas. But I'm going to make a thank you card today. So one thing that I love about the BetterPress is it has this grid right here that you can make sure your sentiment is straight. And, you know, I wish they would do the same kind of platform for the glimmer. So right here on the top plate, it has a nice grid so you know exactly where it's going to press. And I'm just going to use a little bit of purple tape to tape that down in the corners. Of course, you can tape wherever you want to tape. You just need to make sure it's not where one of your plates are going to press. So I checked and all of my corners are free of press plate. So I'm going to go ahead and put my tape in the corners. All right. So now I'm going to use the mulberry ink, and I'm just going to press and twist just a little bit. These are not felt. They're, you can press them. It's not like when you're using ink pads that are felt, where if you pressed it like that, you would get a big old squish of ink all over the bottom. These are a little more firm, so you do have to put some pressure on them to get the ink to come out, to transfer. So you kind of press down and wiggle it, and that will get the ink onto your press plate. Now, sometimes when you're doing the wiggle, it moves your plates, and sometimes it will touch down onto your BetterPress base plate there, but that's okay. I will show you how I go about cleaning that up. When that happens, you can see there on this leaf, I did get a big squish right up there, but that happens. It will not reach your paper, so you don't have to worry about cleaning it up before you run it through. All right. Here I'm showing you where my corners are free for my tape. You always have to check that. And the magnets are going to hold that up, so you just don't want to press down on that plate until the machine will press it down when it goes through, but you don't want to press down on it beforehand. So I'm picking it up by the handle, and now I'm going to gently just run it through my Sizzix Big Shot. And when it's going through, it goes through just so simply. You feel like, is that even putting any pressure? But you'll see that it puts just the right amount. All right. There we go. I love it. I wish in the camera it showed how pretty that mulberry color is. It almost looks like black in the video, but it's a nice deep tone. So when you get your BetterPress, it comes with 2 shims, and I just went ahead and left both shims in there and put the plate on top, and I have gotten a great impression every single time. But I am using Spellbinders ink. I'm using Spellbinders paper. Everything that's suggested for the BetterPress, I am using it, other than my Pink Fresh greetings there, but everything else is Spellbinders. But both of those companies make great products, so if you're trying to use different things, you might have to play around with it. But this is the archival ink cleaner that they recommend to clean your plates. Now mine, the little felt tip has come off, so I'm going to squirt it here on my little microfiber towel and see how that works cleaning it up. So there, you kind of have to press that down to get it to come out. All right, and now I'm going to start by cleaning up the base plate there. The longer you leave the ink on there, the more likely it is to stain. So I like to get that off first. And now I'm just going to clean off all of my plates. Now earlier, when I did this before, I did use a red ink, and that did stain my plates a little bit. Now, so far, every other color I've used has come off pretty well. But the red did discolor it a little bit, but that doesn't bother me. That just shows that my products are being used, which I like when the products are getting use. I don't like them just to sit on the shelf and not be used. So, all right, this is a bottle of stamp cleaner that I purchased from Michael's. It's quite a bit less expensive, so I did want to give that a try and just see if it works. And it's brand new, so I'll need to finish getting that open. It doesn't want to just come open. There's like a piece of plastic that does not want to come off. So it takes me just a minute here. I also keep regular rubbing alcohol in a spritz bottle, and we're going to give that a try as well in a moment to kind of see which one we like best as a cleaner. So this stamp cleaner from Michael's, it does smell just like rubbing alcohol. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's pretty much what's in there. But it works really well. The archival cleaner, it has, I think, an oil in it or something, but I don't like the smell of it. I find it to smell very strong. So I scratched my mat a little bit, not sure how I did that. All right. We got the plates all cleaned up. Go ahead and remove this and start making some cards. Now the ink does dry very quickly. You can see I just ran my finger over that and it is definitely dry, but you can see what a nice impression that you get. That's one thing about the press plate. You know, you can get some real delicate fine lines. And I just love how it turned out. And that is the mulberry color. All right, so one thing I tried the other day was I stamped all of the leaves individually, and I did that in the mulberry ink. I stamped them individually and die cut them. And I did that on my same Spellbinders paper that I used today. And then I took some Altenew watercolors and I watercolored all the images. Now when I was running those through with the BetterPress, I wanted to see if I could get a second generation stamp. So without inking it again, I ran it through on a second piece of paper, and this is what it gave me. So it leaves a very faint gray impression there, but not enough to really use it on its own. So I decided, rather than watercoloring it, as I took my oxide inks and I did some ink blending over them. And I'm going to use this to be a shadow under my watercolored leaf. So I still liked how they looked. I definitely wanted to use them, but the BetterPress ink is not one to give you a second generation stamp. It uses pretty much all the ink the first time it presses it into the plate. All right, so I've gone ahead and made myself a background here of the Mardi Gras basil paper, just a deep purple. And I'm going to go ahead and I've made myself a vellum circle and a little eyelet circle. And I'm going to layer those up. And I know that my leaf is going to be right here in the center, so I'm not worried about that showing through at all, the glue. And this is a Heartfelt Creation eyelet circle, but any pretty decorative circle die that you have would work for this. And I'm just going to go ahead and layer those up. And like I said, this vellum actually has a hint of pink to it. So I'm going to glue down the shadow piece first. I'm kind of offsetting it because I want my top leaf to be more in the center, so I'm kind of offsetting the base one. So here we go. And I think I'm going to use just a little bit of foam tape. Pop this one up. I really liked how the cotton paper took the watercolors. You know, it didn't move the paint around quite like water paper does, but it worked. It worked very well. It blended nicely on there, and I was happy with what I got. My glue wasn't coming out. There we go. And there's card number 1. Just a very simple fall card, but it's very pretty. All right, so the next one, this is what I made out of the one that I was similar to the one that we did today. This is just all the leaves run through with the mulberry ink. So the panel that we made earlier, I'm going to go ahead and trim that down, and we'll put that on its own background. So I'm going to go ahead and trim a 1/4 inch off of this one side. And then I'm just going to do 1/8 of an inch off the top and the bottom. That way I don't lose too much of either leaf that's on the top or the bottom. Still want to keep that balanced well. One thing about the BetterPress is it makes an elegant looking card without doing a lot to it. So if you want to mass produce cards, this is a great way to very elegantly mass produce cards. It's fairly simple. I like the watercolored image, but I also really like these just pressed out and let them kind of steal the show on their own. There we go. So 3 cards, just like that. Now, I do have one more idea, and for the watercolored leaf, so let's work on that. It's very similar to this card that we did with the watercolored leaf, but on this one, I used the same Altenew watercolors in the orange and browns and pinks to watercolor. I'm using the same 2nd generation one that I used oxide inks to ink blend, and the same circle. But on the first time, I just used a solid piece of Mardi Gras paper. But for this card, I made a embossed background, and I chose an embossing folder that just kind of looked like branches to kind of stay with my fall theme. But I thought that was a nice addition, and I'm going to be putting this on an off-white colored card base to kind of match my bisque paper. It doesn't match perfectly, but it's way closer than using white. And other than that, I'm going to go ahead and put it together in the same way we did the first watercolored one. Just checking where I want to put my glue dot so that it's not seen. And I'm putting the circle kind of in the top half of the card so that I still have my sentiment will be in the bottom third. And again, I'm offsetting the shadow one just a little bit so that my watercolored one will be more in the center when I do the offsetting. if you don't pay attention to that at the beginning, when you do your offset one, it'll be kind of not in the center if you put your shadow one down first right in the center. So yeah, it's always good to think that through before you glue it down. So do tell me there in the comments if you have purchased a BetterPress, if you've worked with it and you like it, or if you're thinking about getting one. It's very different than any other technique. I don't think you can get the exact same look with other things. Now, whoops, I forgot to put let's go ahead and glue this down. I think let's pop dot it. Excuse me. So stamping an image, of course, will give you, and any of these cards you could do with just stamping the image instead of the letterpress. But it does have a little bit different look to it. So it's just hard to explain. Certainly, if you don't want to invest in letterpress plates and things like that, you could certainly do all of these card ideas with just stamping. But there is something about the letter pressing, running it through, and lifting it up and seeing that perfectly pressed into the paper that is very rewarding. So I wouldn't not recommend getting one, but it's also one of those things that if you're on a budget, that you can get very much the same look without. So here we have our 4 cards. So now let's go ahead and bring back out the BetterPress, and I'm going to show you a little bit different technique that I tried. So we're going to set it up in much the same way by arranging our 4 leaves, very similar to the first one. And as usual, I'll have to kind of fiddle with them a little bit until I get them just where I want them. And the magnets that hold the press plates to the board, I mean, it's pretty strong. Sometimes they're a little hard to pick up, but let me get these arranged here, and I'm going to grab my sentiment again, line that up, fiddle some more. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab another sheet of the bisque cotton paper from Spellbinders. And again, I'm going to check those corners and make sure that they're free. Now, if the corners did have something there, I could tape it on the top and the bottom. It's just you need to be aware of where your plates are so that wherever you tape, it's not where one of your plates are going to press. Otherwise, it'll press the ink into your tape, and then when you remove your tape, you're going to have like a bald spot there. So just need to watch that. So on this one, instead of just the mulberry, we're going to use 3 colors. And I'm going to start with my lightest color, which is the saffron. And I'm just going to randomly press on each of my plates, except for my thank you. But, and you can kind of see, but you want to kind of note where you're putting the ink. You can kind of see it, but this is the mulberry. And I did decide, okay, now this is the bark. And every place where I didn't put the other 2 inks, I'm trying to put in some bark color. And the most important thing is to avoid where you put the saffron. And I'm coming back with the mulberry just to do the sentiment. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and run it through and see what we get. It's very important that you don't press down on the plate while you're moving it around. You want to always hold the BetterPress plate by the handle and let the machine press the plate down. That way you get nice even pressure and you're more likely to, just get a nice clean look. All right, so I'm going to carefully remove the BetterPress. And let's see what kind of impression we got. I'm being very careful not to move any of my leaves. Ooh, look at that. I really like how that turned out. You can see all the different colors in there. Now, you can see right here it's a little faint. And there's a couple other little places. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the mulberry. And I'm being very careful. I'm not really twisting, because I don't want to move that plate at all. If you're going to send it through a second time, you have to be very careful to not let any of those plates shift. And now we'll just pop that back on and let's run it through and see what we get. All right. Let's see. Whoa. Sorry. Whacked the camera with the board. Oh, look. I think that turned out great. Oh, I'm so happy with this one. I love the multicolored leaves. And it's so very elegant. Very fall. Perfect for Thanksgiving. I'm a sucker for leaves. Leaves and birds. I just love them. Look at that. You can see all the different colors. All right, now let's try our cheapest option is just regular old rubbing alcohol. And I'm going to spritz the entire thing with my rubbing alcohol. And now I'm first going to clean off all of the spots that got on my baseboard or my base plate. The longer it's left there, the more likely it'll stain. So I always like to do those first. And now I'm just going to clean each of my leaves. And this is my favorite cleaner. I know they suggest the archival one. And I tried the Michaels one, but I find just regular old rubbing alcohol takes the ink off best. And it is by far the least expensive. Looks like it even cleaned off a little bit of that was kind of stained there from the last when I used the red. It didn't take it all off, but it took more of it off. And this is just an inexpensive microfiber towel that I use for this. I do think it's important to go ahead and clean your plates straight away. Don't set them aside and, wait while you put all your cards together before you clean them. I think they are definitely more likely to just stain and I like to clean mine straight away. So sorry you have to watch me clean, but I don't like to leave them sitting. There we go. And like red rubber stamps, after using it several times and cleaning it with alcohol, I like to go and just wash them in, soap and water occasionally just to get some of the residue off. You don't have to do that, but I like to. Makes me feel like they're going to live longer. I don't know. All right. We have our panel here. Now I had made one earlier similar to this. And the way I finished it off, let me find it here. There it is. All right, I just added a strip of the colored paper across the top just to kind of highlight the card. But for today's, I think I'm going to do it down the side. So it'll be a little similar, but a little different. Whoops, stuck to my cutter. So I'm just going to trim a 1/4 inch off this one side. And we'll add a strip of the Mardi Gras paper down the one side. So I'm just going to trim this to 5 1/4 and get a little strip. And I'm making my strip here about a 1/2 inch wide, just so that I will have plenty of wiggle room. And I'm going to go ahead and grab a off-white card base. Add my strip onto the card base first. Sorry that I'm a little bit out of the screen. I didn't realize that. Did you notice I have a new desktop? It's a just different look. The other one was getting so dirty that I switched it out and got this new one. Alright, so I'm just going to line up the top and the one edge, and then I'm going to trim that across the bottom there where my panel was a little on the short side. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim that with my scissors. But this one is actually my favorite of all the cards I made today. I just love the saffron in there and the lights and darks. I think it's really pretty. Okay, so for my last card today, instead of using the Mardi Gras paper, I kept it all with the off-white kind of ecru look. And this is another watercolored leaf with an oxide blended background. And I'm using a piece of green tinted vellum. And other than that, it's just like the others that we did. I'm going to go ahead and put it together the same way. This leaf is a little offset, and then we'll put this one popped up in the center. Whoops. So I did use the same embossing folder, and like I said, I just chose an embossing folder that was branches, but this is an old Cuttlebug embossing folder from years and years ago. I've had it for ages, but any kind of fall themed embossing folder would be fine. So I don't know if you remember those old Cuttlebug embossing folders, but they're a little bit smaller than the A2. So I do have to trim this down so that it will fit my panel. It'll have a outline around it. I actually still use my Cuttlebug quite a bit. I use it to do most of my embossing, and I use it in my flower shaping, of course. And it's very handy. All right, so now we're just going to add this onto the card front, and I'm going to arrange it in the same way so it kind of keeps some continuity with the other cards. And I chose the You Are the Best from my sentiments. And we'll go ahead and pop that up. right. There we go. We have made so many cards today. And these two. And you can see how the letterpress, I mean, it just really, those small scripty sentiments just come out so pretty. You can really get some fine lines in a different way than with stamping. It's hard to put it into words, but it is its own thing. It's not stamping. It has its own look to it. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so glad. I hope that if you have been a little intimidated by the BetterPress, that this video will kind of showed you how easy it is. I mean, this is really the second or third time that I've worked with it, and no problems. I mean, it really it's not a hard thing to use at all, but it is fun, and I'm glad I have one. So, all right, well, thanks for joining me, and I look forward to crafting with you again soon. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye bye.